Scary situation on the North Shore after a school bus with more than a dozen kids was involved in a crash with a logging truck and two other cars.
It really created panic for school leaders, parents, and authorities. Thankfully, everyone is okay. And Mike McDaniel was the first to report on this whole situation. He takes us to the scene tonight.
When you see photos of this crash scene, it is a blessing there were no major injuries reported. A logging truck, two cars, and a school bus with 16 kids were involved, shutting this highway down for hours.
I made it halfway home down my street.
Fourth grader Jace Jones had just stepped off his school bus Monday afternoon in Bogalusa when moments later his bus was involved in a crash.
I heard a big bang and I ran inside to go tell my grandma, and I heard people screaming.
Police are piecing together what caused the crash. Patrol Major Troy Turvalon says the bus, a logging truck, and two cars were involved.
The log truck actually overturned and went into the ditch. One car was partially crushed by the logs.
In all, police say just more than 20 people were involved. 19 were taken to the emergency room at Our Lady of the Angels Hospital with minor injuries, including 16 students and a bus driver from North Shore Charter School.
I was a little panicked.
Principal Dee Dee McCullough says the K through 8th grade students were shaken up, but there were no obvious injuries. She raced to the crash scene as messages were sent to parents.
My heart was racing pretty fast, but as soon as I saw the children and they ran up and hugged and I assured them they were fine, I settled down. Just putting my eyes on them made me feel better.
The crash happened in the western part of the city on Highway 10, a major trucking route.
We have trucks coming through every day, probably hundreds if not thousands, so it's just a very busy location.
Crews spent hours cleaning up the mess, and long after it's gone,
I was worried and scared.
Jones says he'll remember what he saw and heard.
A silver car with logs on top of it, all my classmates and friends sitting there crying, a lot of them, and the broken glass on the bus.
Police say at this point no tickets have been handed out to any of the drivers, but as the investigation into what happened continues, that is likely to change. Reporting in Bogalusa, Mike McDaniel, Eyewitness News.
And we are told at least 4 of those students have been released from the hospital.